Neil, firstly, a warm welcome to you on Filme Shilmy again. It's wonderful to be chatting with you this time, Amne Samne via video. So I think it's great to have you
जी.
again on the publication. And I just want to say congratulations on Masaba Masaba. Have you been seeing the reactions on social media? How are you feeling about those?
For starters, Anuj, thanks very much for wanting to talk to me. It's great to be able to chat about work during this time, and the reactions have been awesome, quite fantastic. Some of it expected because I knew it was great fun, and while we were shooting, I had a feeling that it'll be very well received. And because of the lockdown time that we are in, I think it's even more accepted now.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's been quite a busy period for you. Obviously, you've had several releases now. I believe you had what, Four More Shots Please season 2, and then you had Shakuntala Devi, and now Masaba Masaba. So having these multiple exposures during a time like the pandemic must be quite
Right.
a sigh of relief and satisfying for an artist like yourself, right?
Yes. Absolutely. You understand, Anuj, being a fellow, media participant. Timing is everything, and this is something which you can't control. So I'm just glad it fell to my favor, to my advantage, having these releases out.
I agree, and I think it's great as well because we got to see more of you in different shades as well. In the work
Yes.
that you've done too, because obviously in Shakuntala Devi you played a bit of
Mm-hmm.
a negative kind of a role, and then obviously in
A bit of a douche, yeah.
yeah, who eventually got shot because of that. So basically, lesson learned: don't be a douche. You won't get shot in life.
True that. True that.
So Masaba Masaba is being talked about quite a lot, which is what
Mm-hmm.
I just mentioned at the beginning of our chat. So
Yeah.
and I also read somewhere that Mr. Darcy from Pride and Prejudice was your reference point in playing Dharia. So why was this character
Right.
your inspiration?
Well, to be completely honest, Anuj, that the journalist I was speaking with at the time, she gave me this reference, and I'm still catching up on all my literature. There's too much to read, and that is escaping. So I'm like, who's Mr. Darcy from so and so, so and so? So she said, when I saw the show, I was reminded of that, and I was like, what is his brief about, his character brief? So then she told me what it was, and I was like, yeah, I think it's an apt reference. So it's not like I worked backwards using that. That's
Okay.
the truth, where it was her input and I agreed with her decision. But the brief that was given to me by Sonam Nair, our director, was that he is an investor and he is intrigued by this entire fashion world, but he doesn't really know how to, because the fashion peeps are also fairly cool and they're very out there and extroverted and are not so socially awkward, whereas this guy, the Dharia, seems to be a little more guarded. So that was the brief.
And I think playing or doing a film rather, which is it kind of blurs the line between fiction and non-fiction in a way. It's almost satirical actually and ironic as well, because obviously it's Masaba and Ninaji playing basically themselves but in a fictionalized narrative. So how
Yes,
fun
sir.
was it to be a part of that? Because I feel like that's something that Indian cinema hasn't quite explored as much. I think we've had we've had like the Mindy
Right.
show in Hollywood, but we've not really had
Yeah.
content like that on Indian cinema. So what are you making of that whole idea?
Nice one. It's exactly and precisely what you just said, which is why I said yes to the project, because I'm like, man, I haven't seen this in Indian storytelling, and in a way you can sort of spoof stuff, right? Because you're playing, you're sort of like breaking a fourth wall in some way.
Yeah.
Most of your characters are fiction, but your lead characters and what the story sort of revolves around is they are playing themselves, because they, Nina ji is a really awesome actress, one of our best actresses in India, and her daughter Masaba Gupta as well. So that sort of
Dynamic.
you know
Hmm.
dynamic was really interesting when I heard it, and I was like, man, if you guys are doing this and there's some work for me, I want in on this project. So yeah.
That's great, and I think it's wonderful. I'm glad that they've, I guess, provided a platform for Nina Ji and Masaba as well, because their lives have been quite interesting, as well. I mean, even Masaba's story, I
Yes,
find her
sir. Yes.
extremely fascinating. So I think it does do justice, to them as well, as individuals and their life stories.
True, true.
So, I mean, Neil, you've had a vast experience of performing on stage, especially in theatre. Has this medium helped you in
Yes, sir.
shaping the actor you are today? I mean, how has it helped you to shape the actor you are today?
Yes, for starters, to get that sort of intensive training where, our rehearsals would be anywhere between 6 to 8 hours a day, which is a proper, like a working shift when I started doing theater when I was about 19. And what it teaches you is how to work with people and how to take instructions and directions and ask the right questions when you're not too sure, you know, about things. So it's helped me because I've been fortunate to work with so many directors on stage and some of the best directors. You understand different people, and every time I'm going to be directed by a new director, it takes me about 3 days to sort of figure out what they actually mean by the instructions they're saying,
Hmm.
even if it's someone because that person socially as a friend, but then once you're in the arena of working, it's a different character. So
Yeah,
so that's how it helped.
and I presume it's also the discipline as well that you've uh, gained as well. I guess that must also come through as well when you're in front of the camera as well, right?
You know, yes, if I may just trail off for a bit, like I did a show called 24, which was like the Indian version of
Yeah.
24. I think the last time we chatted, we spoke about that as well. And I was doing this one play directed by Kwasar Padamsi. It was called Project Strip, STRIP.
Right.
Had nothing to do with actually stripping. It was quite a political sort of a story.
Yeah.
And one of the characters, I play multiple characters, like this goofy guy who plays, comes in as different characters. And one of the characters that I played, which was a scene for maybe about 15 to 20 minutes or 15 minutes on stage,
Hmm.
the sort of the sur and the way I pitched that character
Hmm.
is the pitch that I used for Aditya Singhania. So I had already tested it out on stage, not knowing that in the future I would get to play a part which is like that. So it
Wow.
was interesting where you can borrow what you learn from one. Like theater is my passion. I love performing there, and my job or my trade is more camera work, right?
Yeah.
So whatever I learn on stage, I put it on in front of camera, and now the other way around as well. So
Yeah, I think also speaking a bit more and referencing that conversation we previously had, I kind of mentioned like you've also had or done roles rather which have a bit of a social undertone to them as well. Like for example, in NH10, it was more about about honor killing. Then you also had No One Killed Jessica, which was also
right,
again about how the powerful get away with murder. And then you also had Lust Stories, which
right.
sort of distinguishes the difference between classes and the forbidden love aspect as well. So is this something you consciously look out for, or is it just something that
Yes, sir.
happens
Yeah.
to fall on your lap, or that you sort of just go out and audition for and you get it?
I do sort of keep my antenna up, trying to look out for that. But it is a collective sort of, it's a collective, right? Because the writers, the directors, those artists sort of have the similar thought process that you are thinking of right now, and at the same stage. So I think because there was a general shift in putting out stories which were a little more, there were many movies became, like many articles became movies. What I'm saying is, some of the writers, they had read an article somewhere and they were like, oh, you know what, this is so interesting, let's flesh it out and make a movie of it. So it's that, I think it's a conscious sort of mind that everybody has, decision, right. And because of their interests, then thereby I fit into that.
And I think it's great as well, because I feel like it's been a gradual process, but you've managed to really make a mark. I feel like even in a film like Shaitan, where you had so many amazing other co-actors as well, like you managed to shine in that as well. So I think it's been a gradual process, right?
Thank you.
Finding
Thanks, Anuj.
your identity. I mean, how would you?
Yes.
How do you feel about that whole journey if you look back at time and with the way you've managed to create your own space? Given the fact that you began with kind of supporting roles.
Yes, sir. Dude, I just love, like, for you to mention it also is just, I feel so good, because it's like, okay, now people sort of understand my thought process as well. It's not just like they see my work. Yeah. But now, because through time, you've seen different kinds of work, you sort of understand the artist through their work, right?
Yeah.
And this is true. Because I don't, in fact, I'm also somewhat fearful of having a huge spike of like, wow, so much attention, and like, oh, wow, you got 3 big films back to back. If at all that happens, I probably wouldn't know how to handle that stuff. But what I do like, and what I would be confident of, is a gradual growth where every year, every 2 years, there's a bit of a, you're about 20% better than what you were earlier, and stronger in the media. So I'm up for that, because there's still a long way.
Yeah.
I'm 37 now. Wow. If I work till Mr. Amitabh Bachchan's age, that's 77. So that's 40 years to go, dude.
You don't even look 37. I wish I can look like you when I'm 37. So, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
You will, yeah, bro. Yeah.
But because we're speaking about your journey, Neil, there's often when I speak with actors in particular for interviews, they obviously want to become a hero, and some of them, that whole line between hero and actor gets blurred when they kind of decide to become and enter the industry. What was your goal? And just an extension of what I just asked, how do you feel you've achieved that goal now, especially?
My goal, these are small achievements where, Filme Shilmy, and somebody wants to invest their time to talk to you as an artist because your work is out there. That itself is a sign that, okay, so things are going well, I totally understand what you are talking about. I guess there are some people who would rather have fame, but the thing is, it's very easy to become famous in today's world. Because of having a camera with you and editing softwares, and you can do whatever you please to get famous. But I wanted to act because I enjoy acting. It's like playing a sport, right? You prepare for it. You prepare, especially if I talk about my stage work. You're rehearsing for about 30 days every day to then put up a show. So it's like training for Wimbledon, and then when the game is on, you really have no control over it, because you don't know, where the wind is going to blow.
Yeah.
So
that's an interesting analogy.
So it's like that. So my goal, sir, my goal would be to always be part of some of the new narratives of telling a story, because I'm not so sure how many original stories there are in this world, and always have something to do.
Yeah, I think that's just so very well.
That would be my goal.
And I think because of the fact that you have the OTT platform as well, which was perhaps not there when you began as well. So do you think that's played also?
No, it wasn't there.
So do you think that's played a major role as well?
Oh yeah, totally. See, it's supply and demand, right? It's supply and demand. There's when multiplexes came about, right? About maybe 12, 15 years ago, suddenly they were more in your city. They were more movie screens. And because there were more movie screens, they needed more films. Then a sort of device came about, which has a screen and it's in your pocket. So there are even more screens now, which then asks for more content.
Right.
So that's how now as an artist, it's a far more lucrative job than it was 15 years ago or 10 years ago.
Yeah. And I guess it's given more hope it's given more hope as well, I think, to a lot of aspiring actors also.
Oh,
Because
yes.
I think, who was it? I spoke with someone recently as well, and that's what they said, that it was either TV or film. You know, there was no
Yeah.
other medium. And then you obviously
Yeah.
had theater as well, which is, of course, a traditional
It's a
art.
practice and
So,
tradition. Yes.
so obviously you had that. So I guess by OTT platform, it's given that whole upper hand as well, I think, in many, many ways. But because we spoke about stage as well, just now in your response as well, what impact do you think COVID-19 and the lockdown will have on the performing arts industry, especially theatre? Because, see, for cinema, we've got OTT platforms. People can obviously watch films, and they can, producers can, showcase the films on the OTT platforms. But I feel the arts, the actual authentic arts, might suffer because they actually need live audiences to be there. So how do you think the lockdown and
Yeah.
COVID-19 will affect that?
Yeah. I mean, I can only guess and speculate. I feel it will take at least from start, we're 6 months into it, 5.5 months into,
Yeah.
The global lockdown.
Mm.
And I feel we'll finish one entire year.
Yeah.
And then things will sort of creep in. But what I'm waiting to look at is the general rhythm of communication between human beings would have changed. You
Yeah.
see, things like anxiety and that, they're very, my job is to recreate human behavior. Either I borrow from my own actions and reactions or what I see around me, right?
Right.
There's a sort of a calmness that's come about because of people not having to run around to work or just sleeping a little better. So I think that would be interesting. And also physical, like hugging people, shaking hands, has changed. Now if you've lived like that for about 5 years and you're going to live like that for some more, so how you see two characters play out a scene will be very different now.
Oh yeah,
it'll be very different. So that's what I'm waiting to see.
I mean, I'm just curious to know how they'll shoot love scenes now, because that's gonna be very difficult. Like I can't imagine the actors wearing the PPT kit or wearing like a mask to sort of make out. Okay, it's like, so I think that will also be a very interesting challenge.
We go back to the flowers clothing.
Yeah. Exactly.
We borrow from the old.
That will definitely be the new alternative now, I think, for sure.
Correct.
But I think moving on, so I spoke a lot about how your roles have this social undertone to them, but at the same time, I've also realized that a lot of the films and some roles have been quite dark in essence as well. Not necessarily Anurag Kashyap pure darkness, but just like darkness as in like there's a bit of a grey shade to them. Is there a particular reason why this sort of role speaks with you?
No, I think it's just chance. It's I also make my decisions based on what comes to me. So what is offered to me are stories that a writer or director wants to put up. So yeah, and I mean, something like 4 more shots, please. That would have a little closer to who I am. Yeah. Shaitan also, like my cousin Natasha, she had said that, Shaitan, there's some bits that are so Neel, but because that's Bijoy Nambiar allowed us to improvise quite a bit. So then you'll see a bit of this and that.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I myself don't know who the real Neel is. So
oh my God.
Yeah, I'm gonna live my entire life trying to figure that out.
That was such an Imtiaz Ali statement that I was like, I don't know who the real me is. I was like, oh God. Here we go, Tamasha. Tamasha 2.0. Lovely.
True.
No, but I think it's true though. I guess when you do play different characters, you kind of some part of you does get quite caught up in them. I think Tapsi has said that
Yes, sir.
many times when I've spoken with her as
Yes.
well. Like that the character
Right.
that she plays, that there's always a hangover of certain characters as well. And I guess you're
True.
never able to shake
Yes.
yourself out of it as well, right?
No, I don't think you need to. I mean, you got to be mindful of it before getting into it. But that's the sort of perks of the job, right? Because you can sort of maybe like how Iron Man has like different bits that come
Yeah.
together and form a suit,
Yeah.
and each bit on its own doesn't make him fly, right?
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, now that we're chatting about it, those are the things that sort of build you, and this is why I find it very interesting to listen to or watch senior actors and performers, right? Because
Yeah.
they've spent 30 years, or 30 or 40 years playing different human beings
Right.
while they are themselves. So
Yeah.
eventually, the kind of person they become would be very different from a person they would be had they not taken up that line of work, you know?
Oh yeah, so true. I agree. I totally agree with that as well. And I think it just comes down to experience and different
Yes, sir.
witnessing different situations as well. Darkness Visible, which we obviously spoke about at length as well
Yeah.
last time. It's
Neil Biswas. Woo-hoo.
yeah, shout out to Neil. Hopefully, I'll
Shout
send him
out to
this
Neil.
video. Hopefully he'll be able to watch it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Please.
so Darkness Visible is your first
Mhm.
international film which fuses Hindu mythology with the supernatural genre as well. And I think, like I said, it's your first
Yes.
international kind of film, which is not just Bollywood, so to speak. It's also like got a lot of
Yeah.
impact on the West as well. When will that release?
Right.
Has there been any clarity on when we can see that film releasing?
I hope. I mean, I had to connect with. I was very rude, and after a few exchanges, I didn't send a reply to the last one on email. But I think this would be a good time for them to try and find a platform that would like to put it up. Because I managed to see the film. It's come out so well. It's come out
Yeah.
so fantastic.
Mm.
And it's got a good pace to it, and the supernatural stuff also sort of creeps in. It's nothing too like, it's done very well. So let's see how that is, and what becomes of that. But now that we're chatting about it, I'll probably put a jaldi behind it and try and just find out what's happening.
Yeah, I definitely hope as well, because obviously it was quite. I mean, obviously the international aspect was new for you, and the fact that it's supernatural as well, which was quite.
Yes, that was the first time I've done like a horror genre. And I mean, I had done way back. I did a series called Brits with Peter Kosminski.
Yes.
So that was way back, though. I was Riz Ahmed's cousin in that. But
yes, I remember this. Oh my god, I've seen this
That's a pretty good
series.
show.
I think this was on Channel 4, I believe.
Channel 4, that's right.
I watched that. Oh my god, yes. I mean, that's incredible, Neil. I mean, you've already had such great exposure as well with the international platforms.
Yes,
I mean, not that you need that to validate you as amazing as an actor you are. I mean, it's just
thank you.
It's an added kind of value.
It helps. Yes.
It does. It really does. But obviously, now that you've explored various mediums, Neil, what do you hope or expect will challenge you next as an artist, as an actor?
Virtual reality. I've thought about this one.
Yeah, you really did.
Virtual reality.
Okay.
Virtual reality, brother. That is where we will focus most of our energy on next, because tying up to some of your questions earlier, yes, entertainment will never die. It will take a different format, and we can buy technology, of course, sitting at home, and the more they start producing stuff, on a large scale, it would be cheaper. It would also be great to somehow put up, and you can probably have a smaller team to shoot something which is virtual reality, because your camera, it's more camera heavy and technologically heavy than having more hands on board. So I think that will slowly open up, and I believe now we're chatting about it. It will go from like a micro format to then full-fledged films. So first it will start going into like 30-minute, maximum 60-minute sort of movies or stories, or even like 7-minuters or something. And then it will, once people know how to work it, it will expand.
I hear
That
you.
is the future.
I hear you, because I think when I spoke with Shah Rukh as well at a conference here in London, he did mention actually
Right.
that technology will evolve so much that it will play such a major part with the way audiences can even choose the sort of
Yes.
narratives they want to see. I think Netflix have already
Yes.
tried doing that as well, where you can have options and select which decision the character makes. And
Yeah.
I
Yes.
think I
Yes.
think
Yes.
that
They
will
did.
just go like further as well. And I think from what you said, I think
No
virtual
doubt.
reality will probably be the new 3D, I think, as well.
Yeah. Correct. It will. Yeah.
It's
No,
amazing.
for sure.
It's incredible. And I think for you as well, Neil, I think seeing you in multiple projects as well, Masaba Masaba and Shakuntala Devi and Four More Shots, Please. I think it's just been so good to see you back in action, because there was a point where it went a bit quiet and I was like, I wonder what Neil is up to. And now we know what Neil is up to, so, or has been up to. So it's
That's
been
true.
it's been
Thank
really
you,
good.
Anush. Thanks very much.
It's been really good. And I want to wish you all the very best as well for any upcoming projects that you have that we can look forward to. And hopefully we'll catch
Ji.
up soon as well, and have another
Yes.
group
Yes.
again.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Most definitely. Have a wonderful time. I look forward to chatting again. Lots of love.
Amazing.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye. Bye.
Neil. Thank
See
you.
you. Thanks. Bye. Bye.
Bye.